Towers in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is another wonderful Wednesday's edition of Talk Today. We got a chance to invite to our studio candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us as we welcome to the studio candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks. Good afternoon, Mr. Mario. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Dwayne, or Sterling Dwayne, and good afternoon to all of your listeners, Grand Cayman, especially West Bay West, and of course also throughout the Cayman Islands and even internationally. I am Mario Ebanks. I am a 8th-generation Caymanian. I grew up in West Bay since 1968. My great-grandparents are all from West Bay. Married to Lavinia Ebanks. She was a miller from North Side, actually Miss Cayman, in the late 70s. And we've been married for 32 years and been living in Coral Gables in Northwest Point for the last 28 years. I regard myself doing as a community servant, a servant leader, whether it's private sector or public sector in the community. I also regard myself as a good shepherd. I like to look out for people, help people, whether they're young or old or otherwise. And I also feel that throughout my life I have been exposed to a number of experiences and perspectives that helped me to become seasoned, tested, and I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to serve West Bay West. I'm ready to serve the Cayman Islands as a Member of Parliament. And I am here for that purpose today to talk to you and the community in general. I've been on the radio as before with Mr. Orrit Connor and also with Crosstalk and with Mile Road and other social media outlets. And today I want to, before I get started, I want to just wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and I have a lot of regard for the people of Ireland in particular, the Irish people. My wife and I visited Ireland about 10 years ago, and we did a 3-week tour, a grand tour of Ireland. We started in Shannon, and it was a bus tour, a small group of Rotarians, and we started out in Shannon, and we crisscrossed the Republic of Ireland, and about 3 weeks later we ended up in Belfast, and then we took a ferry across from Belfast, a overnight ferry, and we went to Liverpool, and then we went to the Rotary Convention in Birmingham, England. But the Irish people are fun-loving people, happy people, but also do get on their wrong side because they're also people that are very tough. And so I want to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. I want to also, Dwayne, remind people about a couple of things before I get into the topic that I came to discuss today, that I was on a talk show on Monday morning on Rooster Cross Talk, which was supposed to be a debate between myself and my opponent in West Bay West. As usual, he didn't show up. He was afraid to take me on with the issues. But I challenge him to come out. He has another chance to come out next Thursday night at the Chamber of Commerce debate next Thursday. So don't be a coward. Don't be a coward. Come out of your shell where you prefer to be, telling lies and throwing mud in these public meetings that you have in the neighborhoods and going to people's homes. Come out and challenge me. If you want to talk issues and solutions, come out and challenge me. So he didn't show up on Monday morning on the Crosstalk radio, but I challenged him to come out on next Thursday night at the Chamber of Commerce debates. Dwayne, I don't want to talk about the past. I want to talk about the future. But let's talk about the past for a short time and then we deal with the future. My opponent in West Bay West, Mr. McKeever, was twice removed from cabinet. The first time he was removed, it wasn't called cabinet, then it was called executive council. And that's when Mr. Truman Bodden and Mr. Tom Jefferson were in the cabinet with him, or with executive council with him. In 1997, he was removed because he was a director of First Cayman Bank, and that bank went into some serious problems, as you know. There was all kind of misconduct. The bank was essentially insolvent, and because of him being a minister and being a director, he was removed from executive council. He asked me to run with him in the 2000 elections. He asked me in 1998-99 to run with him because he wanted to come back out and he wanted to put together a team. And I refused to run with him because I knew what had happened. I knew a lot about him, much of which I can't talk about because I have a secrecy covenant, as you know, as a civil servant, working with him in the mid to late 90s. But he asked me to run with him, and I refused. And he put together a team. I ran against him in 2000, and we didn't win. But so fast forward now to around 2012, he was again in the He was in the cabinet. Then he was premier, and he was removed again from his position as premier in that cabinet. And his friend now, the current premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, was then the opposition leader. And he played the leading role in removing Mr. Bush from the cabinet. And one of Mr. Bush's running mates now also was instrumental in having him removed and replaced on the cabinet. So he has been removed twice from executive council or cabinet. That's a record in Cayman. It's a bad record, but it's a record. But now he wants 4 more years. After all of that, and after all of what he has done, he wants 4 more years. And according to him now, he only wants to be the speaker. So why do you want to have someone spend another 4 years just being a speaker, hardly representing people, except for the usual way that he does things? And I think that the West voters need to think about someone who can actually deliver results, who cares about them, who's going to be there for them, who's going to work for them, and not just make promises and just do handouts, but give people hands up, help people to fish rather than giving them fish. Give those fish who need fish, but let people be resilient and work and help them to rise up. So I think that our job now, West Bay West, Dwayne, is whereas my opponent has been removed twice from the cabinet, our job now in West Bay West is to remove him from the House of Parliament. That's our mission, and we're focusing on that. But he also has selective memory about his own misconduct. He prefers, Dwayne, to make up lies and tell nonsense stories about me or about anybody else who opposes him or who has the courage to challenge him. And I have nothing against him personally in terms of wishing him any ill will personally or his family. My direct focus is on my periscope and my microscope is on his public record. I'm not going to go up and make up stories on him, or I'm not going to tell stuff that I may know about him, whether it's confidential or not. I am not. But his public record is what is under scrutiny. But let's just look at what he said in his statement. He issued a statement that he signed on the 24th of February, 2020. And let's just listen to what he said. This is just a little piece of that statement. It was 24th of February, 2020, signed by Mr. McKeever Bush, And in the second paragraph, I quote, he says, and this is in regard to that assault that took place at Coral Beach Bar, which he is the owner of. He said, I am told that the management and staff rushed to my assistance, for which I wish to personally thank them. He goes on to say, I did not know where I was or what had happened or who was assisting me to get back to my feet. I was confused and disoriented, a similar feeling to that which I experienced when coming out of an anesthetic for my previous operations. So he didn't remember then. He goes on to say he didn't remember anything. But now, a year plus later, he remembers everything. And he's even remembering more because he's making up a different story about what happened. He said that he went there to fight for gratuities which were being stolen, but he didn't say that then. Now he's saying that the young lady who he assaulted actually attacked him, and he didn't attack her. So let me ask my opponent, if he was so innocent as he said he is, why did he plead guilty to the charges that were placed against him? Secondly, why was he convicted for those charges? Why was he sentenced to a curfew and a fine? And fourthly, if he was so innocent, why didn't he appeal the conviction? So I think he must have forgotten that there's a video out there that was played in the courts, and which he has, and which the Crown has, and I think he's forgotten also about that. So his memory is very selective, but yet he goes on and castigates people, curses people, and tries to destroy people's good character. But he doesn't want to face me, or he doesn't want to face anybody else publicly, where people can see him, hear him, and be able to refute and rebut his nonsense that he talks. So again, he goes into people's homes. He and his handlers and his enablers, some of those who work in his office, and he tries to just twist things. And I say to people who tell me things, look, I don't have time for that. My thing is talking about the future. And those people who he tells things to, give me a call, 916-1144, and tell me what he's saying, and I'll tell you the truth. But I want him to come out to the debate next Thursday night. Let's talk issues and facts and solutions and stop this nonsense about castigation, cursing, and blackguarding.
All right, we're going to pause and take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this paid political slot with candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Eubanks.
Freedom, Cayman Rack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its valued customers and the motoring public of planned works to upgrade the water supply infrastructure along Anthony Drive between the Smith Road and Andy Drive intersections. Works will begin on Monday, 8th February, and the project will last 6 to 8 weeks. Through the course of the work, customers in the area may experience service outages. The authority makes every effort to give advance notice related to outages. Customers can also visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, for updates or tune into Radio Cayman for outage notices. Motorists are advised to avoid driving in the area between 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. weekdays during the works. If motorists must use the road, they are encouraged to drive with caution and follow all traffic signs to ensure their and the authority's staff's safety. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it undertakes these works and apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And as we continue our discussion with candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Eubanks, just a quick reminder. There, unfortunately, there's an accident on the Linford Pearson Highway, according to our in-studio announcer, and the westbound lane is currently blocked. So, trust and prayers, nothing serious there. But if you can avoid the area, make it easier for the emergency services, So, again, welcome to Mr. Mario Eubanks, candidate for West Bay West. Good afternoon again, sir.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Thank you very much. And I just, before we took the break, I was just talking a bit about my opponent's track record. And as I said, I didn't come here to talk about that. I didn't come here to talk about the past. I did not come here to talk about people that are defunct of ideas. I'm here to talk about the future and about ideas, solutions, and real problems that people are having. But my opponent continues to talk about income tax and trying to hang income tax on my shoulder that I support it because one of my supporters has that argument on his social media or Facebook page, and of course, my opponent in his wisdom want to also put that on my shoulders. But I have no plan in my manifesto about income tax. Mr. McKeever is the only person that has income tax track record in this race of him and I, because when he was leader of government business, he proposed something called a community enhancement fee, which was an income tax, and he was pushing that for a while until the country and the business community almost ate him alive. He came to me to try to help him as well, to try to get out of that mess, but he had to abandon that. So he can't say that I am supporting income tax. He's the one who pushed it forward and proposed it. It's called what he called it was a community enhancement fee. I put a name for it, but it's the same thing. But what he does and what his handlers and his enablers do with the help of the current administration, of which he's a part, is that they are giving concessions, large concessions, financial concessions to the tune of $8 million in one case, where to those large developers who are coming in here and building large condos and developments. We need investment, and I've always been pro-business, pro-investment. But I also believe in planned growth, sustainable development. But when they give all these tax concessions, especially at this point in time where things are booming, in economics, you're an economist as well, Dwayne, supply and demand. When the economy is booming and you have development and the economy overheating, that's not when you give concessions or incentives. You give it when things are slow and you want to, spur some development or incentivize it or encourage it. But they're doing that now, giving these concessions to these people, whoever they are, without any question, and not asking who we're developing for and who's going to benefit. But at the same time as they're giving these concessions, we have children who are going to school without a proper breakfast or a proper meal. They can't get a proper lunch, or the parents can't afford to give them money to buy the expensive lunches that they have nowadays. When we were going to school, it was much cheaper. And so children are hurting. Families are under stress. Minimum wage is low. Cost of living is high. But these guys and my opponent still insist that they got to get 100,000 plus people in this country, and they got to give concessions to the large developers. Shame, shame, shame. So, like I said, I'm not here to talk about my opponent, about the past, but rather him talking about me and talking about others, but especially me in this case. He may want to think about and answer a question of Mr. Saeed Ahmed Bilal, the manager of First Cayman Bank, who disappeared. Maybe he could think about that and remember that and talk about that at his next meeting and stop throwing mud at people. But, as I said, we're here talking about the future. We're here talking about solutions. And I don't want to talk about him anymore because we all know where his political career started. And all we're concerned about now is where it is going to end. It's going to end in this year. And enough is enough. West Bay West, it is time for us to bring about a positive change. It's time for us to elect me. I'm asking for your vote, and I want to talk about some of the things that we're going to do in the future. And as I said, there's a whole lot of stuff that I can talk about, but we are talking about being productive and talking about the future. The people who are supporting me, the people who are encouraging me, the good people of West Bay West and across these 3 islands and beyond, are looking at positive change, constructive discussion, solutions, not about throwing mud and calling people's names and making up lies on people. That is of the past, and those who live in the past will have to stay there. We are about a better future for our children and grandchildren and even generations yet unborn. That's what we're here for.
All right, and we are indeed speaking with the candidate for West Bay, Mr. Mario Eubanks. Now, as you set the stage for it and moving forward to the future as you shared, I mean, many would recall perhaps your early days in school, being a part of the West Bay Progressive Youth Group, being active in the church, service clubs, and like you refer to yourself as a servant leader. In today's paradigm, leadership comes in all shapes and forms. Your attributes, as you reference, position you well in your mind. What makes Mario stand out when it comes to serving the country, the community, and in your view, being unselfish and forgiving and giving?
Yes, I've been a member of the Church of God Chapel since 1969. My father was approached by Reverend Dewey Johnson, and we joined that church in 1969, and I've been there ever since. And even after I got married to my lovely wife, Lavinia, we lived for 5 years at a condo in Spots, which we owned. And every Sunday that if we could, we also drive to West Bay to go to church. And I always loved West Bay, and I still do very much. West Bay, I keep telling her that Northside is the second most beautiful district on the island after West Bay. But when I was at university in the mid 80s, I always had a desire to serve. I used to write letters to the newspaper, even when I was in college, and looking at issues, looking at sustainable development. When I came back from university, I was the second president and a founding member of an organization called the Overseas Students Association, and our job was to bring Caymanian college students together, provide support, provide encouragement, and provide a structure for them to get support while they were overseas, but when they came back, to make sure that they were given proper opportunities for careers and be able to move up to their full potential. And I'm a past president of Rotary Club Central, past president of Junior Achievement, a founding member and past president of CIA Human Resources Professionals and other organizations. And in the public and private sectors, I've had a variety of careers and a variety of exposures. And that gives me a very diverse perspective on a lot of different subjects. So that enables me, Dwayne, to be able to empathize with a lot of people and also be able to operate. And I'll be able to, if I'm elected on the 14th of April, if I'm selected by the House when it meets a week or so after, I am willing to be a premier, deputy premier, a minister, a parliamentary secretary, or an MP. But I'm ready to serve from day one because I have that perspective. And I don't just do it because of my intelligence. I do it because I encircle myself with people that mean well and can provide advice and that I'll listen to. So I'm ready to serve. And I'm tested and proven, and I'm qualified, and so I can go overseas to represent this country because I know the issues. I can prepare, I can read, I can research, I can deliver, and when I go overseas, you don't have to worry about me going into casinos and getting arrested or that kind of stuff. I'm going to go there to be able to represent the country, right? So character is also on the ballot in this election. So you not only have to have somebody who can get up there and beat their gums, but somebody who, behind closed doors, you don't have to worry about them cutting deals for themselves and getting rich because of these deals. You want somebody who you can trust, and you can trust me. One of the things that you'll see in my manifesto and in the little information that I have that has been given out as brochures and stuff that will be in my website is that I'm also recommended a limited term for parliamentarians. Right now, there's no limit term. You can be there for 50 years, or in the case of my opponent, 36 years before he is retired. But my thing is 20 years. So you have a 20-year limit. Right now, we have an 8-year limit for the premier. The premier can only be premier for 2 terms consecutively, and he or she has to take a break before they do that. But my plan is also to keep that 8 years for the premier, but 20 years maximum for parliamentarians, so that you'll have succession planning. People will not get so entrenched into their position that you can't move them. And so you'll have a proper accountable system. But in addition to limited term, I will also be recommending an amendment to the Constitution and any other legislation to provide a recall where the citizens can trigger that by having a vote similar to a referendum, and if that passes, you recall the person for specific reasons, and those specific reasons would have to be enshrined in a code of conduct as well. So as I said, it's about accountability and it's about doing the right thing for the country.
All right. With that, we'll pause quickly, take a short break. When we come back, continue with candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Eubanks.
Between two desserts at Subway. The new caramel brownie cookie is 2 treats in 1. Imagine sweet, gooey caramel with decadent chocolate chunks baked in brownie-flavored dough and topped with a light drizzle of caramel icing. And you have the new caramel brownie cookie, available at Subway. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious caramel brownie cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert. Available at all Subway locations. Subway. Eat fresh.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you. Getting vaccinated is an important part of keeping our islands protected against COVID-19. All persons who are scheduled to be vaccinated must present a photo ID which shows you are legally and ordinarily resident in the Cayman Islands or have permission to stay for 6 months or more. Accepted IDs include a Cayman Islands driver's license, passport or voter's card, a global citizen's certificate, a work permit grant letter, extension letter or job letter from a local company, or a non-Caymanian passport which shows the holder has been landed with permission to be on island for 6 months or more. Essential workers must also present their work ID to show proof of employer. Anyone who has already received a first dose may still receive the second and must show their vaccination card. For more information on the vaccine program, visit www.hsa.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And in the studio, candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Eubanks. And momentarily, we'll go to the phones and invite our callers. But Mr. Eubanks, this is your time, so.
Thank you. I just want to quickly recap some of the things that I've been hearing from walking the streets and talking to people, particularly the last couple of weeks. Some of the topics that have come up, things like job placement, having a better system of job placement. NAU, the Needs Assessment Unit, the level of customer service, the need for a payment plan. There's also, the people who are receiving this displaced tourism workers stipend. They get $1,500 a month, and that's very good. But based on feedback from the public, if I am elected, I'm going to increase that with the help of the government, of course. And I say I always use the word we because I like to be more inclusive. But in this case, I and the government will, if we get the majority and form the government after the election, will increase it to $2,000 a month rather than $1,500. So displaced tourism workers, until the economy reopens, the tourism sector reopens, we're going to increase the stipend from $1,500 a month to $2,000 CI per month. Other issues I've been hearing quite a bit about is housing, affordable housing, access to that, elderly care. So many homes you go to, you have caregivers there, and you got people that get care, but also there's a serious need in terms of our elderly. access to affordable land, and health insurance for the unemployed, and for the indigent and elderly and those people who are retired. So those are some of the issues. Rent control, where rents, no matter how the condition of the economy is, people are still charged high rents or exorbitant rents. Loud music in cars and in neighborhoods. So those are the kinds of issues that I've been hearing a lot about. But in our manifesto also, we're going to be proposing something called a Family and Communities Empowerment Law or Empowerment Act. And I'll talk about that later on if you have it in a time. But also one of my goals for West Bay in general is that within a year of the elections, we're going to have a hurricane shelter, a proper hurricane shelter, and a multipurpose civic center designed and, if not completed, definitely under construction. We need that in West Bay. We're a large district and we don't even have a proper hurricane shelter. But yet my opponent, who's been there 36 years, wants 4 more years to be the Speaker of the House. We need to get workers and we be planning and prioritizing. Stop giving away money with concessions and let's invest money into our people and into our country. I think you have a couple of calls.
I believe we did. Mr. Fox, we'll go to the phones. We're speaking to studio candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Eubanks. Hey, good afternoon and welcome and thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon, sir.
For a long time, you've been in the Labor Department and you put in now yourself as a candidate for West Bay. And as you know, you live in West Bay and you know how much people roam in the street without a job. And you was in charge of the Labor Department. And you done nothing to help them. So my question, how you going to help them when you become MLA to help those West Bayers who don't have a job?
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks very much. The question, sir?
Yeah, I'll respond to him. I'll respond to that caller. He knows well what he's saying, I think, in terms of the remit. When I was Director of Labour and Pensions, there was a separate entity, which he probably forgot about as well. It was called the NWDA. The NWDA, that has no connection whatsoever to the Department of Labour and Pensions, was the entity that provided job placement, career advice and training. I always advocated that NWDA and Labour should be together rather than separate. And under my plan for the future, we're going to create a Human Capital Development Authority that will pull all these things together. But when I was Director of Labour, to correct that caller and hopefully get him on the right track, is that job placement was not a part of the Department of Labour. It was a separate entity with a separate staff and a separate director. But for that caller's information, who hasn't been here in Cayman many years, from the time I was a young man, I'm still a young man, but I was a younger man then, and I was on the Education Council. I was a member of the Education Council for 4 years, and also on the then Community College Board of Governors for about 4 years. And before that and after that, I've always helped people, and people have reminded me, even now as I walk the streets and see people, how I've helped them get jobs, helped them with getting resumes, helping them prepare for interviews. And so that caller talking about I haven't done anything is pure hogwash. But in my role as Director of Labour, I didn't have responsibility directly for job placement, but I did it all the same. So, caller, be informed.
All right, as we speak to Mr. Mario Eubanks, going forward, and you take us through, the things, because sometimes small communities may know or believe they know. Sometimes we need to be reminded, but now we're in a global space. Last year, if it wasn't anything, it certainly should have reminded us for what is important.
One of the reasons why I put myself forward as a candidate in the 2021 election was because I saw, with the advent of COVID, with the coronavirus, and what we and the whole world's been through, that Cayman has an opportunity to press the reset button, look at where we want to be, and plan a better future, so build back stronger. And what I have in my manifesto and our plans, and the plans that my committee and others are working on, is a proposal called Vision 2050. Vision 2050 is a new strategic long-term development plan that will pull together all of the elements that you normally do when you're looking at long-term planning: population, environment, infrastructure, society, heritage, community, all of those things, right? And put together a proper plan. The last one we had was called Vision 2008. And Vision 2008 was a good exercise. And I believe it was the people that were around that was, I think, when Mr. Truman Bodden was the minister, Miss Joy Basdeo was the chief officer or permanent secretary. And they put together a wonderful group of people comprising public sector, private sector, and volunteers across these islands, and put together Vision 2008. Unfortunately, a lot of it wasn't implemented because the successive governments didn't have a commitment to carry out these things. But our vision, new Vision 2050, we'll do a similar thing, and we make sure that we also put in place a framework and a timeline and a project plan to take it forward, not just during the government that I'll be a part of, hopefully, but well beyond my time. And we need to have a proper plan. We've got to know where we're going. So Vision 2050 is going to be looking at the year 2050 and what we need to do now to prepare ourselves for that, all the issues that we need to prepare for.
All right. Mr. Banks, sir, we do have a call online. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to welcome the caller back that just shortly returned to the island, because he was very quiet before, so I presume he was off the island. But I speak as a West Bay Central constituent. I want to say that Mr. Mario was the first one that helped me learn how to do a resume.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I also want to say that as a young woman of 44 years old, I was retired from the civil service by our first premier, who is also his opponent in West Bay South, or West Bay West, sorry. So I hope that answers Mr. Nuhu's question.
Thank you, caller.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Banks?
As you know, I thank that caller. I grew up in all the constituencies in West Bay. My first area that I was in was in West Bay North. And the first night that we arrived in Cayman Islands in 1968, we stayed at Mr. Cleveland's house right in the corner of Watercourse Road and Bosun Bay Road there. We stayed there for a couple of nights, then we moved to another house in West Bay South, Genevieve Bodden Drive. And then after we were there for a few years, and we moved in a little further to where the Foster's Food Fair is now. There's a rental house there, and we were there for a while. And then we moved to West Bay Central in Mount Pleasant, where we lived close together. And so I've been on all the constituencies in West Bay, but I live in West Bay West, and but I know a lot of people from all across West Bay. I decided to run West Bay West because that's where we live, my wife and I, for 28 years, and I want to be close to the people and be there for them, and that's why I'm there. But I thank that caller, who I know well from West Bay Central, and she's an outstanding person, somebody who has been given a rough deal and not helped, but she is a very resilient person, and she has done well for herself. And I thank God for both she and her brother and others in the family who have done well. And I thank her, and I wish God's blessings on her continuously.
All right. With that, sir, let's pause and do the news. And when we come back, we'll continue for another 15 minutes or so. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have, on my island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. On Thursday, March 18th, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., road users traveling south on the Esterly-Tibbetts Highway are advised to reduce speed and drive with caution in the vicinity of Cayman Water Company's Abel Castillo water treatment plant. This is due to sewer repair work in the area. In international news, Brazil is experiencing a historic collapse of its health service as intensive care units and hospitals run out of capacity, its leading health institute Fiocruz has warned. COVID-19 units in all but 2 of Brazil's 27 states are at or above 80% capacity. In Rio Grande do Sul state, there are no intensive care beds available at all. Countries around the world will celebrate St. Patrick's Day on Wednesday with online events replacing traditional parades. Landmarks across the globe will also turn green for the day in honor of Ireland's patron saint. Traditional parades in Belfast and Dublin have been cancelled for the second year in a row. Significant institutional failings by the Football Association meant it did not do enough to keep children safe, according to the findings of an independent review into historical child sexual abuse in the game. It found the FA was too slow to have sufficient protection measures in place between October 1995 and May 2000. The report focused on the abuse of children between 1970 and 2005. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks. This is a paid political segment and will end at 1:15. Respectfully, sir, we do have some calls online. And to the callers, with great deference to you, if you can, so we can get to each one, please, let's see how we can do it. Good afternoon and welcome. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig McNeil. I'm a retired CEO that lives in Daytona Beach, a multinational company, and I met Mario Ebanks and Lavinia Ebanks in 2002 at the University of Tennessee.
Ah, my friend.
Afternoon, sir. Welcome.
My friend, it's so good to hear you, man. Craig?
Yes. Hey, I have been coming to the Cayman Islands since they used to have a Holiday Inn on 7 Mile Beach years ago. And I'd like to talk a little bit about Mario. One, he is proud to be a Cayman. He promotes his country to anyone that will listen. I have traveled to China, Korea, Cuba, and other places with Mario, and everywhere he goes, he talks about how great the Cayman Island is and how well it's grown and how beautiful it is.
Yes, sir. Mr. Craig? Yeah.
Did we lose
Very
you?
audible.
Yes, sir.
I'm still here.
Yes, sir. We hear you now.
I'd just like to say Mario's very honorable, he's very dependable, and he's always willing to help anybody that I know. He stands up for what he believes in, and he's one of those kind of guys you can always depend on. And I know you got to get online and go get quick, but I just wanted to say that I'm very proud to know Mario and proud to have him as a friend.
Thank
He
you.
would be a great legislator for you guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that, Mr. Mario.
I thank you, my friend Craig. You gave me goosebumps and almost got me in tears. But good to hear your voice, and thank you very much for reaching out across the miles, along many hundreds of miles from here to reach out. And as that story goes about the boy in the war that saved his friend, and his friend said to him at the end, "I know you would come. I know you would come." Greg, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the Cayman Islands.
Amen.
And you, my friend.
All right. Let's take another caller, Mr. Ebanks. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I just something that I've observed, and I want the public to know about it.
Okay.
Rental is in demand, and I actually got caught up in there is someone that is trying to scam people during rental. They would take the property off the website and post it for rent at a very reasonable price. And when you contact, you have to go through email and then register with some company and send your money somewhere. So I'm just putting it out there that people need to be aware. And when if you are not giving your money to somebody directly that is on the ground, don't go ahead.
So what you should do then, maybe report it to the records. Just report it to the police. They can direct you with the financial crime section. But something to be vigilant of.
Thank you, caller. One of the things that we'll do when elected is we have a landlord and tenants law on the books in the island, but it's not really being properly enforced. And the issue of rent control and also better business counsel and consumer protection, those are all part of our commercial review that we'll be doing to make sure that there's fairness and equity to all concerned. Thank you very much, caller, for issuing that.
Thanks as well. And then we take a couple other callers. Good afternoon. Welcome. We're speaking to candidate for West Bay West, Mario Eubanks. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, we'll try the other line. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks. Hi, good afternoon. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. This is George Eubanks, but I'm calling in to strongly endorse my brother Mario. Not only for West Bay West, but I can commend him for the entire district of West Bay. But in particular, I want to speak to my good people in West Bay West, because it's time for new leadership and new blood, and my brother Mario is well suited for that occasion. If I was in West Bay West, and of course I grew up in West Bay, but I live in Savannah. But if I was in West Bay West, this is how I would vote.
Mm-hmm.
I know that McKeever has been around for a long time, and many people love McKeever because of his longevity. And yes, he's done his share of work, but McKeever is now ripe to be retired, and I'll tell you why. And I want to speak directly to the people of West Bay West as to why this is the opportune time, and you shouldn't have no prick of your conscience to do it. If you retire McKeever Bush now, he's at his optimum salary. He's at the speaker's salary. So when he retires, you'll be doing him a favor. He'll be retiring at 2/3 of the speaker's salary, which is most beneficial to him at this time, because he always seems to get himself in so much trouble with doing nonsense and shooting himself in the foot. I've never seen a politician who shoots himself in the foot more than my friend McKeever. But I would, if I was in West Bay West, I would vote for Mario. I would retire McKeever, and I would say this is a gift I'm giving you, McKeever, because I'm retiring you at your optimum salary. You are getting the same salary as the premier, as speaker, and so 2/3 of that is a lot more beneficial to you than if you were to ever win on April the 14th, which I'm going to be coming down there next week and working very hard for my brother Mario, because there's a lot to be said and a lot to be done, and there's no room for people to have any regrets as to, boy, McKeever's been around so long, I knew him for so long, I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. You can retire McKeever, and he's retired at his optimum salary. I repeat, as I begun, if I was in West Bay West, I would retire McKeever on April the 14th, knowing full well that he's run a good race and he's stayed in for a long time. He's reached his maximum potential, and he's at his peak salary, which is speaker, and I would retire him on that basis. 2/3 of that speaker's salary would be my parting gift to McKeever as I vote for my brother Mario. I'm imploring all my voters in West Bay West to do the right thing. I'm coming out to all my people.
All right.
Paisanos, tiene que mover a McKeever Bush.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
All right, thanks much. Mr. Eubanks,
Thank
I
you
think
very
we do
much.
have perhaps one other call.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes, good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Yes, good day, Mr. and Mr. Eubanks.
Yes, sir.
One question for your panel there, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, going forward, what incentives do you have, or do you think you will be putting in place for the growth of the population of Cayman? Because as we see, we're always talking about this magical number of 100,000. But 100,000 of imported, or we are trying to incentivize Caymanians to have kids and stuff to populate our own place?
Well, thank you for that call. I have not been one that's been promoting this 100,000 population. I believe in sustainable development, and I believe in ensuring that Caymanians have the majority and that we have a country that is under our control. And that's why in my proposal, I am proposing a Family and Communities Empowerment Act that looks at all of those issues around families. And I'm also proposing Vision 2020 that looks at population growth. 2050, sorry, Vision 2050, which is 2020, could be a perfect vision, right? Where we look at all those issues and provide a sustainable development for us. In 1972 or thereabouts, there was a report that was done by a group called Laventhal and Harvard, and they looked at population and they looked at carrying capacity. When we grow a country, when we build a nation, we have to look at carrying capacity. How much growth can the country carry or sustain? And in the case of population, how much population of non-Caymanians can we carry compared to Caymanians? We have to have a balance, and we'll have to look at that issue very carefully. So my thing, caller, is sustainable development, managed growth. I don't believe in having a faucet or a spigot that you only have an on and off lever. You have a middle one that you can adjust it and you can make sure that it is sustainable. That's my position, and I will be talking a lot more about that during the campaign, at our public meetings and at our fora. And please listen, and please come out, and please help us to achieve this worthy goal of sustainable development for all.
Right. As you speak.
Thank you, sir.
The reason why I say that is because as we look, Cayman is we are the minority here, Caymanian.
Right.
We're the minority.
Right.
So we get the minority effect because our voices aren't as strong as before.
Right.
And that's because you have a government that looks at one side of the balance sheet, just looking at revenue, and they don't look at the costs. We're paying a heavy cost for this, and we have to balance it for the benefit of Caymanians. Right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And respectfully, Mr. Banks, I mean, you're paying for the time, but it's almost nice. So we've got a couple minutes left. Any other thoughts you want to leave with our listeners?
I do. I want to thank you for your time, callers and listeners. And I want to also remind you all of a couple of things. Tomorrow, Thursday the 18th, there's a couple of things happening, but I am going to be launching a new talk show called Let's Talk Policy with Mario. Not a call-in show, but it's a discussion show. And it's going to be starting tomorrow between 7 and 8 p.m., a live in-studio show. And I'll be joined with a panel of 4 Caymanian experts to talk about 4 very important issues. So please tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock right here on 89.9 Radio Cayman. Then on Friday morning, I go again to For the Record with Mr. Orrit Connor between 7:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. Then on Friday evening, between 7 o'clock to 9 p.m., I want to invite all the residents and voters in West Bay West and West Bay in general to a community meeting, a meet and greet at Leo Ebanks Park and Ebanks Road, which is right off of Watercourse Road in the Northwest Point area. Please come out to that for a good time of sharing and also some positive discussion, and without any misconduct or any mudslinging. You'll not find that kind of stuff at our meetings. I also want to promote tomorrow evening. The West Bay Action Committee has a meeting at 7 p.m. at the Chapel Church of God, Town Hall Road, and they're going to be talking about a number of issues, including beach access and a couple of other important issues. My telephone number, for those of you who don't have it, and it's on my brochure and my Facebook page and on my business card, is 916-1144. The Facebook page is Mario 4, the number 4, West Bay West, or WBW. I want to thank all those who have been liking the Facebook page, those who have been praying for me, those who have been supporting me, and those who have been encouraging me. I love you all very much, and I thank you. And I want to leave with something that I hope my opponent will take to heart, and those who handle him and those who enable him. But I want all of us to be encouraged by what I'm going to read here now. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope is in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." That's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Isaiah 40:31. Let me just tell you what that means to me. In this fight, in this campaign, I like the the eagle. The eagle really inspires me. But you know, Dwayne, the eagle does not fight the snake on the ground. The eagle picks up the snake into the sky and changes the battleground, and then it releases the snake into the sky. The snake then has no stamina, no power, and no balance in midair. It is useless, weak, and vulnerable, unlike the ground and the dirt, where it is powerful, wise, and deadly. So I am taking this fight into the spiritual realm by praying and by being a good shepherd and a good servant leader. So I am not going to fight my political enemy in his comfort zone. I am going to change the battleground like the eagle and let God take charge through prayer and through elevating this debate to a higher level. And I think if we all do that, we can be assured of a clear, clean victory on the 14th of April. And Isaiah 40:31 is my battle cry in that regard. I thank you, sir. God bless you. God bless these Cayman Islands. And I thank the listeners and those who called in. And my good friend, Mr. McNeil from the United States. You and your wife and family, I love you guys. We hope to see you soon when we can travel again. Have a good day. God bless.
God bless. Thank you very much, Mr. Mario Eubanks, candidate for West Bay West. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. We have some open line until 1:30, and we have some more candidates joining us. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Guy Adonis Banks, MBE JP, 1914-2000.
A major road on Little Cayman is named after Mr. Guy Banks, who started a private school, later accepted as a government school on Little Cayman. A farmer, he also served Little Cayman as customs and immigration officer, peace officer, road supervisor, radio operator, and mail transporter. As a lookout during World War II, he braved potential danger, from enemy submarines to report to officials in Cayman Brac. In 1959, Mr. Guy was transferred to Cayman Brac. During his tenure as district commissioner, the Brac's infrastructure and services were upgraded, including the paving of the North Coast Road and construction of the Civics Center. He served as chairman of various sister islands boards, including the Development Control Board. Among his numerous awards are the Queen's Coronation Medal and Silver Jubilee Certificate and Medal.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Hey, another See What I Say with a good friend Ray.
Yes, sir. This time the topic is mosquitoes. Wait, not mosquito coast or the mosquito Indians, but the mosquito, the insects.
Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Not mosquitoes.
Not mosquitoes.
Not mozzies.
No.
Mosquitoes.
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 If you were born after 1960s, you don't appreciate how bad mosquitoes was.
I would even go further, man. If you were born after the release of GMOs, but it's kid.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, chow. Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes could grab them by the handful. Mosquitoes.
Kill a cow, feed a
kill
horse.
Everything. I heard kill cow, kill dog, donkey, horse, cat. Kill every one of them.
Yeah, could even kill a mood. Mosquitoes.
See what I'm saying?
Is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Mosquitoes, join us Friday,
March the 19th, the third Friday of the month. See what I'm saying? For mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Some open line now until 1:30, and then we have on the schedule, political candidate at 1:30, and then another at 1:45. It's a little teaser to tell you who they are. Maybe you'll stay tuned. Maybe you'll be intrigued and interested enough to, listen in. Well, it's a political season. We want you to be, as much as we can, offer up perspective so you can be informed and engaged and involved. Hey, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us. It's great that we live in such a healthy democracy where we can, so publicly engage. But it's also incumbent upon us that we don't take it for granted. And not only when it's, become eligible that we get registered to vote, but we go out and cast our ballots in an informed perspective. Then thereafter, we continue to work to ensure that there is accountability and sufficient responsibility for those in authority. But we, as the citizens, the voters who are impacted and affected, we work together. Doesn't mean that we always agree, but it means that when we don't, that we do so respectfully and appropriately. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Dwayne, good afternoon.
Welcome back again, man. How are you?
I'm all right. Dwayne, I tell you about the incident which happened that I received threat being sent to me by happened by a person who investigated now by the police the issue and who behind it and all of that. And today I see a CD in one laptop. Somebody brought to me a CD and show me 8 videos in a CD. And he said, if you want those people behind the threat to pay the price, I will release this CD so they can lose election. I think those people need to know that I never in my entire life threat nobody. And in my entire life, I never do a physical harm to nobody. But those people still behind me. They go after me and my family before. They prison me for days for no reason until today, 3 years now. Until today, I don't know what the reason. They lock me up for 4 days for no reason. And then they order those corrupted people in the Cayman Status Board to deny my status while I was married to my wife and I have a child and I have property here. I have my life here. All these years I live here and contribute to the society in a positive way, always defend the Caymanian people. Yes, there is some people take it fun when this man cussing my mother and they laughing and doing comments, laughing and joking for somebody cuss my decent mother. But if those people think my mother cussing Bryce will be little, they will know I am going take that CD and copy 5,000 copy, and I will go door by door, start in every district in Georgetown, and I'm gonna give this CD to every voters in this country to see how dirty some politicians are in this country. I fed up with them harassing me. I fed up with them trying to send dirty people to attack me and my family. And I warned them, if they don't leave me alone, I'm going to release this CD and end up all their political career for life. And they need to leave me alone. Thank you, Dwayne, and goodbye.
And with that, sir. Hey, good afternoon. It is open line, 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037. we can, without question, see how sometimes politics and the political charged environment can be inflammatory. People can come at times across as being, overly passionate. But where do we ensure that freedom of expression and the desire to disagree in a healthy manner is such that, we all have a sense of duty of care and responsibility and respect for dissenting views, as well as for those that may be echoing a concerted voice. Let's go to the phones, though. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon, Sterling.
Yes, sir. Afternoon to you again. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Is Mr. Eubanks still in the studio?
No, Mr. Eubanks' paid slot ended at 1:15, sir.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to ask Mr. Eubanks and congratulate him for, rising to the challenge and, entering the fray. I think anybody that does this, deserves at least that sort of respect, because it's not an easy job. But I had wanted to ask him if he was experiencing the same sort of issues that most of us in Georgetown in the 6 constituencies were dealing with, which was the vote buying, the insane amounts of money that are being spent and the gifts that are being given out, because again, it doesn't let up, and unless people are thoroughly investigated, charged and convicted, there's no end in sight. So you're not only in a popularity contest, but people must understand the value of their votes. And truth be told, $200, $2,000, $3,000 isn't enough for what the politician stands to earn, that is buying your vote. And more importantly, any politician that is prepared to buy a vote is prepared to sell your loyalty, but more importantly, sell out this country. And we've seen that over the last several years, whereby if you ask yourself the question, is my life better today than it was 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, that surely has to be part of the formula on how voters make a decision. Because right now, it's okay to take the money, and I would suggest to everybody, take every dollar that you can get from the politician seeking to buy you, because once you get into the ballot box, nobody is in the ballot box with you, and that's really between you and God. So what old people used to say, eat them out, drink them out, vote them out, because anybody that believes that they can buy your vote and buy your support has no respect for you and no respect for the office that they are competing for, but they are buying you with somebody else's money, and that money comes from the persons that own and control them. That comes from the Caymanian corporatocracy. That comes from really well-off people that want the status quo to continue. That isn't their money, and voters need to understand that. So when somebody insults you, take it, but show them at the end of the day you're your own independent thinker, and more importantly, eat them out, drink them out, vote them out, because we know what they're about. We've seen their track records. Everybody except for Caymanians are benefiting as a result of the current government and their policies. We have more people today struggling to survive, whether you be middle-class people, working class, or those at the bottom of the spectrum living below the poverty line. There are more Caymanians hurting today than ever before. And the solutions that the government are proposing is to increase the population to 100,000 people, where they're developing a Cayman for everyone else except for Caymanians. We owe it to ourselves to understand that we come from lineage and heritage whereby we know the difference between right and wrong, because that's what this election is all about. The election can't be about somebody buying you for $200 and giving you some sheetrock. This is about, we want representation, or you should want representation, and I suggest that you demand representation that believes in accountability, transparency, good governance, and more importantly, that is answerable to you, not just every 4 years at the polls, but on every major issue of national importance that is impacting us, because they think they can buy you. They think they can buy an election, and they think that they can control you. $200, $3,000, whatever the number is, isn't enough for your vote. So you tax them and you show them that you understand the value of your vote, and then you go into the ballot box and you do the right thing. Vote for change. Vote for candidates that will give you a chance because the current incumbents, the current government, what I'm experiencing in Georgetown North is insane, Dwayne. Money is on the road, and it's coming from the political parties, the political players, and it's not their money, it's the people that own them and control them. And Caymanians need to wake up to the reality that no one can fix our country except for us. And right now what we have is not working for us Caymanians, and we need to change course and put faith in people that know better, will do better, and have a track record that prove they understand what this is about. Because politics can't be about just buying a vote. I'm sorry. If it is, people need to go to jail. And I'm going to just say this out loud. For all the corruption that exists in the Cayman Islands, at various levels, on various projects, in different ministries, whether you be a politician, a politically exposed person, a chief officer or senior civil servant, or a rank and file civil servant, or a member of a politically appointed board or something, where are the reports and the investigations by the Auditor General's office on projects like the port, on projects like the airport, on every project that went untendered but they decided to build? How do you end up awarding a contract for a $170 million high school, the John Gray redevelopment, to the same company that screwed the country and made a bag of money on an airport that doesn't appear to be what we thought we were going to get? Ladies and gentlemen, we owe it to ourselves to ask these questions, to demand answers, but more importantly, all of these agencies that exist need to be doing their job. Financial Crimes Unit needs to be looking into every previous politician over the last 20 years, every current politician that has been serving, and understand their source of funds. How did these guys go from nearly being bankrupt? Some of them, including my opponents, have benefited greatly from their office, yet only McKeeva Bush has been charged as abusing his office, as abusive office. That can't be right. Are you telling me that everyone else has been lily white and perfect and done it above board? When we know, at the end of the day, follow the money. If you follow the money, you'll understand who's getting paid, who's getting bought, and who owns them, because there is always a paper trail. If they can look into me and my finances and everything else that I say and do, why aren't we doing that with people in the system that are basically responsible for the policies and the misdirection and mismanagement of our country, whereby Caymanian people have become secondary and third-class citizens in their own home? That just blows my mind. So I thought Mario was there, and I wanted to ask him some of those questions. Maybe you can help educate the public on some of the questions that I've asked, because these are the conversations we need to be having, and you need to be asking these questions of any candidate, every candidate, because I'm prepared to answer those questions anytime, any place, anywhere, by anyone. I have nothing to hide, because I believe what we need is a full, transparent system where people understand you have rights as a citizen. You can challenge the system, and you must demand more from people who you elect. The average politician makes, over a 4-year period, $600,000, between $600,000 and $950,000 over a 4-year period. That doesn't include the benefits and the perks of health care and pension and all the rest of it. That's a lot of money for the country to be going on a downward spiral, because right now, only select neighborhoods, only select people, only certain groups, special interests, are benefiting from this Cayman miracle. Right now, where are the Caymanian people? Where's the plan for us? It can't be to get to 100,000 people. We can't even get minimum wage up to a stage that it becomes a livable wage. The government have been paying people $10 an hour for the last 4-8 years on the NICE program, after they said that the NICE program was vote buying when McKeeva Bush did it. Yet they've turned around and done everything that McKeeva Bush has done, and they are more corrupt than anything that we've seen previously. They just happen to be nicer. So we kind of look the other way, like they're nice people. But nice people do bad things. And we need to understand, we've seen nice, and we see where nice gets us. What we need is competence. We need people with credibility. We need people with integrity that know the difference between right and wrong, and who are not going to be elected to fatten their pockets while the rest of the country goes down the tubes. I am one of those individuals that knows the difference. I will fight for every single Caymanian the way that I will fight for my family, because there's only 40-odd thousand of us. If we can't fix a country where 40,000 Caymanian people get the benefit of everything in Cayman, why are we building, and who are we building for?
Questions I think perhaps have been too often asked but seldom answered. Hey, thanks very much, my friend.
Take care.
All the best. Enjoy the rest of the day. With that, we'll pause and take a short break. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Things just got a bit hotter on the island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
And now, a paid political message from West Bay West candidate, Mr. Mario Ebanks.
Do you want better vision, ideas, and solutions, committed and dedicated representation, and a better way forward for you and your families? Do you want someone who will fight for balanced growth, environmental protection, and resilient infrastructure? West Bay West, on 14th of April, please vote for Mario Ebanks. Together, we can restore dignity, build better communities, and achieve positive change. It's time, West Bay West. It's time.
The proceeding was a paid political message by West Bay West candidate, Mr. Mario Ebanks.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
Why work with a Cereba agent? We can tell you that those letters represent a proven understanding of the real estate market in the Cayman Islands. But it also means so much more than that. Our trained Cereba agents are committed to ethics, integrity, and excellence of practice. It's all about confidence, knowing you are working with a qualified Cereba agent. As members of Cereba, your trust is our promise. To find a Cereba agent today or to search thousands of listens, visit Cereba.com. Cereba, the mark of excellence in real estate.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. 949-8037. Or a toll-free call with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. It's going to be open line. We have things scheduled and sometimes they don't materialize as planned because people's lives are, sadly, extremely busy. Their time is taxed and often, there are so much demands and obligations on all of us. And I say that to share that sometimes as a people we don't really get to appreciate the true beauty that is within this country. The joys that lie within when we celebrate it with friends, the new acquaintances that we make, and oftentimes our unwillingness or seemingly inability to carve out a few minutes or even 8 hours. We at work for many of us, half the day. In my brother's case, that's 12 hours at the very least. But for some of us, we have an 8-hour, 9-hour work day. But what it's like to sit and share an afternoon or the equivalent of the 8-hour work day, with a friend, laughing, talking, sharing, eating, smiling, joking, just relaxing. True fellowship, true company, true conversation is priceless. I guess, last year when things were the way they were, for many of us, it was challenging. But for some, was the very first time that they got to relax and unwind. They got to see, things perhaps in a new perspective. For others, it was extremely challenging, is the word to use that doesn't make it so egregious. The challenge to spend time with others, the challenge to face the realities, the challenge that, if it continues, they'll lose house and home. They'll, at risk of losing their families and their businesses. Whatever financial wealth they were building is eroded. And perhaps the realization that some in authority will be more than willing to not just exercise great authority, but to abuse position. This is where I think, as a people, we got to be reminded that we are indeed our brother's keepers. We have to be willing to work hand in hand to ensure that each and everyone has a better quality of life and a higher standard of living. Following yesterday's discussion, a few people asked me, well, what is progress? How do we measure progress? Is it that we have more income, but as a result, there's a rise in cost of living, so at the end of the day, there's less money available to us to spend? We're making $10,000 a month, but we're not even saving $1,000. But there was a time when we were making $1,000, could probably save almost all of it. Now, there has to be a certain level of income in order to be able to afford, the expenses of life. But if the cost of living is so high that no matter how much you make, you seem not to have enough, is that progress? What, as someone also answered, when asked the question, well, what is, progress? Well, is it a new home that is bigger, has more technology, perhaps is seen to be located in a more prestigious area? But instead, you have hired security, you've installed alarm systems, you may even have other measures because you live in gated communities and the like, but you can't enjoy it because you don't feel at peace, ease, comfort. There's no sense within yourself that you're safe. Is that progress? What's the story about the fellow who's fishing in just a little canoe? Up comes, someone who is well positioned in business, flashing his MBA from some, highfalutin, as the word of the politician I used to use once that shouldn't be, forgotten. Some highfalutin university who tells him, hey, you know what? I could take your business, create a new marketing plan, get you a whole fleet. And you can make more money so one day, you can have the leisure time to rest and relax. What did the man reply? Well, with this little canoe, I can go have enough to, more than do for my family and support my community, and I still have all the time. So I'm going to go and take on more stress, more financial obligations to do what I'm already doing now. Well, think about it. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Now, we see how the political, sort of arena will change quickly the closer we get to elections. For those of us who engage in, the politics of the day, who may attend public meetings or other meetings, who may watch debates and discussions between candidates, whether in person or otherwise, you can see how sometimes things could, perhaps be misconstrued. Or it could be just an attempt to mislead. It could just be, par for the course, as someone have said, an accepting of what is it that we heard once? Alternate truths. A friend of mine used to say, he would never accuse someone of lying. He just would say that they were, always making statements inconsistent with the truth. Hey, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We'll pause to take a short break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
At Subway, we know a meal isn't quite complete without a side, and that's why we're introducing waffle fries. Subway's waffle fries are oven-baked softness with extra crispy edge, giving a satisfying taste to be enjoyed as is or in any of Subway's dipping sauces. Order waffle fries as a side item for $2 or make it a meal deal with any sandwich or salad with a 20-ounce drink and waffle fries for an additional $3 or a 30-ounce or bottle drink and waffle fries for an additional $3.50. Subway, eat fresh.
We are telling you ahead of time, giving you the heads up to get ready. The black tie affair with a circus twist. Step right up. The annual gala hosted by Rotary Central for the Alex Panton Foundation. Saturday, May 29th, Marriott Beach Hotel Ballroom. Step right up. Support the Alex Panton Foundation, dedicated to serving and preserving young people through vulnerable times, mental health intervention, treatment, guidance, preserving life. The ambience of a circus affair. Tickets are limited, tickets are precious. Get your tickets from Rotary Central members. Go online to Rotary Central and the Alex Panton Foundation Facebook pages. Rotary Central and the Alex Panton Foundation. Rotary opens opportunity.
There's nothing like the smell of freshly baked bread. The warm, inviting aroma, the fresh and natural taste. Just like homemade. 100% all-natural, additive-free bread.
Enjoy fresh and natural-tasting bread from the iconic Caribbean Bakery. Always delivered fresh to your favorite supermarkets island-wide. Forget the imported frozen and thawed and enjoy our freshly baked selection of quality breads and pastries.
Try our classic white and wheat sandwich breads, coconut and raisin breads, hamburger and hot dog buns, and a great selection of pastries. Feed your family fresh with Caribbean Bakery.
The 7 a.m. news Monday through Friday is proudly sponsored by CG Britke Insurance, Health, Pensions, Life, where people come first.
The Chamber of Commerce, in association with Foster's, is hosting a series of candidate forums. Candidates from each of the 19 constituencies respond to questions submitted by the public in a recent online chamber survey. Watch the forums by streaming the Chamber's or Radio Cayman's Facebook or YouTube channels on CIG TV or Logic Channel 23, weeknights from 7:15 p.m. Visit caymanchamber.ky for up-to-date election news and candidates' profiles. The forums are also proudly sponsored by DART, Affinity Recruitment, and Bawden's Legal and Corporate.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. As we invite you to call and share your thoughts. As you're perhaps engaged in the politics, if you want to talk about it, let us know. It's certainly always good to hear what people are thinking, what they're feeling, what they're sensing, or maybe what they're concerned about. Is there, as we can ask you, an issue, or are there issues that you believe, A, are not being addressed and acknowledged by the political candidates, or B, they might be addressing them, but not in the way that you would or think they should? We all hear perhaps about the problems, but what are possible solutions? Sometimes, if we are unwilling to put forward our thoughts, perhaps others can't benefit. It may be that thing that we've been needing to hear. It may be that thing that triggers something else. We need to be encouraged and nurtured that our views should not be shunned or avoided. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I am good.
Oh, thank God.
Good.
Glad to hear that.
You're not feeling so endangering yourself today, like that. You had that little blessing at the first, but I guess you're used to that. But why calling about? I think it was your last caller, and what I got from his contribution was something concerning your political franchise, your democratic franchise, and how it shouldn't be for sale. I hope I wasn't hearing wrong, but I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, I interpret that again as please don't sell your vote, which is a good word is instruction.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a little explanation behind that, so most of us could understand that.
It was helpful, huh?
Yeah, very helpful. But what I didn't hear is, and you know, we don't all tend to think alike. But what I didn't hear, and that's the clear, and what I didn't hear and wanted to hear, is the clear concept of campaign finance reform and legislation to champion it. That's what I wanted to hear. And I'm just saying, for all persons who are there, who know the benefit of, and well, he just spoke of his own experience, that money is a wash, and it seemed not to be, the money seemed to be odious. That's the impression I got. Well, right there is where we need to stop in the middle of the road and sit down in the middle of the road, or if you want, park yourself under a mango tree. But we need to talk seriously about campaign finance reform, where the people's purse is not used to the people's disadvantage. And a lot of that is going on. And like I say, he seemed to mention that. But we need campaign finance reform. And it's no longer that we can sweep this under the carpet. We cannot sweep it under the carpet any longer. And, you know, big up to Radio Cayman, but a 15-minute spot on Radio Cayman in a brought forward election, because, you know, we are officially now a banana republic, calling snap elections. It cannot be deemed to be enough. It cannot be deemed to be enough, especially for the impoverished. And that's what the conversation here today is about. Maybe we use the same terminology, but that's what it is about. We need campaign finance reform. We need to use the words. We don't need to skirt the issue. And for I hate to say this, but for the young people trying to enter this political domain, and I'm calling on the young people, please address campaign finance reform. Yes, it might squeeze you, but it is the most democratic. It is the right thing to do, even if it squeezes you down the road. It will squeeze you when it needs to squeeze you. It will free you when it needs to free you. Campaign finance reform. And yes, look at that recall vote and say Dana Warren. Because we need some. I truly don't understand all the tenets of it, you know. It just sounds good. It sounds right, and I want it. Campaign finance is not the only thing I want, but campaign finance reform and that recall vote. For too long, and now, like I said, we are an official banana republic, and nobody is questioned, and it seems like jail is only made for the poor and only made for the ganja boys and the bad girls. And it cannot be that way. In my day, in this Cayman Islands, we used to say this, and I want the latecomers to know, jail was made for man and woman. It wasn't made for cat and dogs. Our jails need to be full to capacity, including the people who foster corruption in this country at the highest levels. Campaign finance reform needs to be a part of draining this swamp. It needs to be drained. And I thank the gentleman for raising the issue. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mom. And with that, let's try another line. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very blessed. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I was trying to call you when Mr. Mario Ebanks was on, but I couldn't wait any longer. I had to hang up. Sterling, I don't know anything much about politics, but I just want to say that, you know, all the mudslinging that they all do in politics, not just in Cayman, I would say all over the world probably. I've not been all over the world, but listen to the news and so forth. We're such a small country. We are a Christian nation, island that they call us. These people be knocking down church doors more heavily on a Sunday than they do during the week. I just want to know what is being gained from mudsliding people. If you want to run, sorry, Sterling, if you want to run, you run and leave my business behind me and work towards trying to get in and do what you say you can do for your people. You understand? And is Mario and George brothers?
They are, yes.
Okay. Well, you know, George came on a couple of weeks ago, all on Mr. Bush's side. I am not on nobody's side. Came on and spoke so highly of Mr. Bush, and today he took Mr. Bush, throw him in the jail, and throw the key to the deepest ocean up in East End. But that's his prerogative. That's his business. But Sterling, if we're going to set an example for our children that has very little example here and there, if we can't set it in the politics and then in the youth parliament, Sterling, how can our children come out any better than they are from what they have to listen to and what they have to see going on in the politics and then people's personal lives when they get in trouble? It to me is like, sorry, we get the strength. We get the strength from other people falling. Cayman is small. It's not the only corrupt place in the world. It's just that we're small. Some get catch quicker than others. And maybe a few don't get catch at all because they're overlooking them to smother me. You understand? So I just want to say that challenging your other people into this election and what you're going to do for what you're not going to do. Sterling, I know that you know that once that government is formed, whoever's going to be for this new year coming here, the election, once that government is formed and the other ones are sitting on the back bencher, you know they don't get very much done. You know that for a fact, right? So when people come out here and promise the people hell and all that they got to do for them and they can't get a position to do it, to help these people, and they get upset and defeated because then they give these people the idea that they have a big expectation. Oh, well, Jim can do this, and Jack can do that, and Mary can do this. So I am set for the next 4 years. It doesn't work like that. And I don't think it will ever work like that. So we need to say, you know what? We got to put in and may the best man win. Pray for each other. Stop clawing down each other. Don't care how bad their history is. Don't care how much they have hurt somebody. Forgive them. The Bible speaks of forgiveness. But Sterling and Cayman, there's no forgiveness. We like to keep things going on and on and on to keep that individual in the ground, to walk on that individual. And they forget. I'm not talking specifically to Mario or George. Don't get me wrong now, anybody who's listening. There's nothing particular to them. I'm just speaking out in public. We got children too, and they will have children. And what goes around comes around. And they say karma is bigger than 8.2 million in a condo on the 7 Mile that's going to be built with free concession. I am not for the free concession. I have to live here too, and my children, and my grandchildren. Sterling, when you are not in the right seat, you can't do too much. You can't do too much. So I'm just asking these people here who are running, cool out, pray, do what you got to do, stop throwing the mud here and there because you could slide on it yourself. Be careful and pray and try to be human to each other and stop knocking church doors down, because then who is any bigger sinner than the one that don't go to church? You know, and those that go to church, they're just much bigger sinner than me that don't go to church. You understand? So I'm just saying to this, Sterling, we need to cut this out and try to play this out, because next month is around the corner.
Right.
We need to love and share kindness to each other. We call paradise. Now we're going to Cayman time. What's going to be the new name after 2000? April 14th. What is the new name going to be for the Cayman Islands? No cruise ship island? That was going to be named?
All right.
Sterling, thank you, honey.
You're most welcome, Mom.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, more talk today.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. As of March 24th, Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman would like to notify their customers Work will no longer accept electronic funds transfer as a form of payment. To learn how to register and use the payment portal, review the how-to guides on work.ky. In international news, a U.S. teenager has pleaded guilty to hacking several high-profile Twitter accounts in a large-scale Bitcoin scam. Graham Ivan Clark was 17 when he coordinated the scam, which hijacked celebrities including Kim Kardashian West, Kanye West, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Barack Obama. 8 people, many of them women of Asian descent, have been killed in shootings at spas in the U.S. state of Georgia. South Korea later confirmed that 4 of the victims were of Korean descent. No motive has yet been established, but there are fears the crimes may have deliberately targeted people of Asian descent. Hate crimes against Asian Americans spiked in recent months, fueled by rhetoric that blames them for the spread of COVID-19. A digital certificate to kickstart foreign travel should be given to citizens across the EU without discrimination, officials say. The aim is to enable anyone vaccinated against COVID-19 or who has tested negative or recently recovered from the virus to travel within the EU. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And in the studio, we have a candidate for Georgetown East as our guest, Mr. Richard Bernard. Good afternoon, Mr. Bernard. Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today. How are you today, sir?
Good afternoon, Sterling. I am perfectly well. As they say, I'm fine as wine and fit as a fiddle.
Well, red wine is always good.
That's correct. The best one.
There we go, man. I'm glad that you were able to avail yourself of the opportunity, and as we invite you to share with the listeners in the country, but in particular the voters in Georgetown East. So tell us, about yourself, tell us about your platform, your solutions, and let us hear from you.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I was born in Georgetown. A lot of people might know my parents, which was Lucas and Mandy Bernard. I was one of those children from the 60s that never born in a hospital, was born in a home. Also educated here in Cayman. Worked in banking for quite a number of years. I'm an accountant by profession. Also, I've been involved with other things here, such as a couple of years back we started a program called Caymanians Against Economic Injustice, and we made some inroads into having legislation brought for the housing, which at that time we were having a lot of foreclosures, and we were instrumental in raising the awareness for this dilemma that we were facing. And as a matter of fact, it is still happening in Cayman right now. Not to the point that it was happening like 5 years ago, because they've actually did some legislation, and there's a lot of talk, about it recently. But I was instrumental in having that brought to the attention of the House at the time, which was Legislative Assembly, and but they did very little, to help Caymanian people. And a lot of Caymanians have lost their homes, because of that. I've also been involved very heavily with sports. I've been the vice president of the Cayman Islands Athletic Association. Back in 2000, I was a candidate for elections, but I had to pull out because of being the team manager for the Olympic team in Sydney, Australia. So for that reason, then, I capitulated. In 2005, because, in 2004 we didn't have an election because of the hurricane, I was on the campaign committee for Rudy Evans. And then also in 2009, I had joined up with the UDP to be one of their Georgetown representatives. But because of some of their unfounded policies, I decided to opt out from there. As a matter of fact, they had some unorthodox things that, they wanted candidates to do. We had just come out of a 2008 financial crisis, and yet they were wanting candidates to raise something to the tune of $50,000 per candidate. That just would not happen, owing to the fact that UDP at the time was heavily funded by special interests and other organizations. So I opted to just excuse myself away from the party. 2013, I was then part of the Bo Miller's campaign committee, and he was not successful. However, he brought a lot of good ideas to the table, and some of those, we sat down and we talked about, and a lot of those were introduced. A lot of those were never used. And then in 2017, I was on the campaign committee for one of the now candidates, Elio Solomon. He's now back in the race for Georgetown West. So that's a bit about me. However, I'm one of those persons that I've decided to run because as I see what's happening in this country, there's a lot of things that is broken and needs to be fixed. And we really don't see anything being fixed. We're just seeing Band-Aid solutions put on age-old problems. Some of these problems we've had in this country for 40 years. And they've still been kicked around like a political football. So I have 4 adult children. They're all in their 40s, and they have children of their own. And I really worry for my grandchildren because I really don't see too much of a future here for them. However, I am one. I was born here, and I'm not going anywhere else because I don't believe there's any place else better than home. To say that, I'll just start by saying this. Politics is the only profession where the servants get paid more than the masters. Saying that, politicians are the servants. The people are the masters. But look at the disparity between the payments of the politicians and the people. Taken into point, presently, we have a $6 minimum wage. But take that into context of how much members of parliament are being paid. In this country, a small plate of oxtail is 9 Cayman dollars. We are working for a $6 minimum wage. So you're telling me that we're going to work for a whole hour and can't even buy a plate of oxtail in this country? It is utterly ridiculous and unacceptable. And this is not even touching the iceberg. This is just a tip of the iceberg of some of the things that needs fixing in this country. I mean, I could go on. There's such a myriad of things. And I will tell you that the Caymanian people are so disappointed that a vast majority of them don't believe anything anyone says anymore. But I think what has happened is a tragedy where we have actually now become a welfare state because there is an affluence of jobs in Cayman. But those jobs, believe it or not, are not going to Caymanians. And let's talk about jobs for Caymanians. It is often used that Caymanians are not qualified, they're not experienced enough, and so on and so forth. However, when Caymanians go overseas, come back with their degrees, there are no jobs there. So this is very important and needs to be addressed. In addition to, I've known it because it has happened when I worked at one of the institutions here, where you had people coming into the country from other countries, didn't have the real experience. They're being taught by Caymanians, only for the Caymanians then to be booted out of that job, and that job is taken by a work permit holder. How can that be right? And that is things that should never continue to happen in this day and age. Some of the things that I will be really touching on is, and I would say the primary thing presently is education. And if we don't educate our people, then they cannot take jobs in the future. We have upwards of 700 children coming out of school on a yearly basis. How many of those go on for tertiary education? Very little. How many scholarships are given by the government? As a matter of fact, a lot of scholarships that is given by the government, those student loans have to be paid back. There's lots of different ways that we could do things very differently. Immigration needs reform. Quite frankly, we have an overabundance of work permit holders in this country. As a matter of fact, the last time I checked, it was over 28,000 work permit holders in this country. That is a nightmare and a recipe for problems. Now, the 28,000 work permit holders, that's not included with the dependents. The dependent adds another couple thousand to that mix. However, we have this situation where work permits are given too readily. And lots of the work permit holders in this country, there are no background checks being done. Some of the people come with phony credentials. And later on, when it's discovered, hey, that should have been picked up from long before. But because we have foxes guarding the hen house, we will have these problems. So this is where we need to really be making some serious changes. And I think the present administration has made a lot of blunders. In my humble opinion, they have not really looked at or looked out for the Caymanian people. The Caymanian people are a forgotten commodity, just as the Indians were a forgotten commodity when the Europeans came into America. But folks, we are in a better position than what the Indians were, quite frankly, because we're a smaller country. We are less people. So I say this to many people that I talk with. We should not have a problem of children graduating from the high school that they can't read and write properly. They can't punctuate a sentence. They don't know who the premier is. They know American history. They know European history. But they know nothing about Caymanian history. Also, we need to be teaching civics in the schools. How does the government work? I've actually asked some of the high school students. Just last week, I was up at the sports complex, and I was asking, just for curiosity, some simple questions. Who was the premier? I was very surprised. High school students, or those that I spoke with, could not tell me who the premier were, but they could tell me who the president of the United States was. So why is that? there's so many problems that we have here, Sterling. And like I said, we need immigration reform. Work permits, we need to have quotas on work permits. There's just too many work permits being granted in this little country. Yes, there's lots of jobs. And this present administration is very, very happy to announce that there's over 10,000 plus persons receiving assistance from NAU. That is a nightmare. That is a tragedy. That means your people doesn't have jobs. So they're sitting down waiting for handouts. And then also they're going to boast about there's over 1,400 people on permanent handouts from NAU. Folks, that should never happen in a little country like this. I've been involved also in the past as one of the census enumerators. And normally every country does a census every 10 years. Well, lo and behold, we should have done one last year, which was 2020. It has not been done. Right now, they're speculating that we got roughly 65,000 people in Cayman. But I can tell anybody there's much, much more than 65,000 people in Cayman Islands. So before they just throw these figures out, they really need to do the work and give people the right figures and give people the right information. I'll go on and talk about some other things, depending on how much time we have left.
Just about at the end of it now. So.
Okay. Well, I want to end by saying thank you, Dwayne, on Radio Cayman for giving me this opportunity. And I look forward to representing the people of Georgetown East. And I will be having a public meeting, which I will be making an announcement next week as to where and when the public meeting will be. But I will be talking about a myriad of these things, a lot of problems that we have here. And again, thank you, Radio Cayman. Thank you, Dwayne Sterling.
Mr. Bernard, thank you very much, sir. And trust this be another informative, engaged election season. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk today.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vamt Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vamtmotors.com or stop by Vamp's service center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vamt Motors on Walkers Road.
Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman advises holders of permanent residency PR facilities to take immediate steps to settle any outstanding fees to avoid potential loss of this facility. Fees more than 90 days past due date should be paid immediately. Payments can be made via debit or credit cards, online payment using the Work Payment Portal, or via checks delivered to the Apollo House West Office on Mary Street. For PR holders needing further assistance, call Work Customer Care at 945-9672.
And now, a paid political message from Georgetown West candidate Dr. Kenrick Webster.
Hi, this is Dr. Kenrick Webster, your independent candidate representing the electoral district of Georgetown West. With just a few weeks to go, I aim to apply my passion, dedication, and track record serving the people of the Cayman Islands through my experiences in law enforcement, tourism, and youth development to support your Georgetown West to be an inclusive, safe, and thriving community for all. If you believe in togetherness and kick-starting positive change for our community, then your vote is safe with me. By voting and instilling your trust in me, I can assure you that I will listen to you and put your needs at the heart of action to ensure that your contribution is acknowledged, valued, and celebrated. With me, Dr. Kenrick Webster, as your MP, there's nothing that we can't accomplish together. Rest assured, your voice will be heard to bring about long-lasting change for Georgetown West and the wider Cayman community. I am Dr. Kenrick Webster, and I approve this message.
The proceeding was a paid political message by Georgetown West candidate Dr. Kenrick Webster.
Hey, another See What I Say with a good friend Ray.
Yes, sir. This time the topic is mosquitoes. Wait. Not mosquito coast or the mosquito Indians, but the mosquito, the insects.
Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Not mosquitoes.
Not mosquitoes.
Not mozzies.
No.
Mosquitoes.
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 If you were born after 1960s, you don't appreciate how bad mosquitoes was.
I would even go further, man. If you were born anything after the release of GMOs, but this kid.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, ciao. Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes could grab them by the handful. Mosquitoes.
Kill a cow, feed a
kill
horse.
Everything. I heard kill cow, kill dog, donkey, horse, cat. Kill every one of them.
Yeah, could even kill a mood. Mosquitoes.
See what I'm saying?
Is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Mosquitoes, join us Friday,
March the 19th, the third Friday of the month. See what I'm saying? For mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. It is open line for the 7 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in today's show. It's a Wednesday. I don't know. Some think it's another day and some think it's even another month. And some can't believe it lost a year. Well, last year was a long century. Well, what lies ahead and how do we work together locally and globally to make it even better? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. It's a flow toll-free call if you want to join us and share your thoughts with us. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Either way, get involved, engage, get informed. They say the best way to get moving is get on your feet. As a human, you can walk and run, but you may need to crawl first. Sometimes you need to be rolled along. The idea is, are you moving with a good heart and with a clarity of mind and a genuine purpose in your step, figuratively and literally? 8949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. We also have the request line that you can use anytime. 949-6990. 949-6990. Many ways the Radio Cayman makes it easier, or as easy as we can, for you to be a part of all that transpires here within the studios to ensure the airwaves are as engaging, as informative, entertaining, and enlightening as possible. 8949-8037. Now, earlier we were talking about a few of the comments from yesterday's show, and I'm glad that Michael McLaughlin was able to carve some time out of his schedule. And it reminds us how we are indeed, taxed and challenged just to even find time for lunch. Sit and break bread with another, maybe sit quietly and read something that we've been meaning to get to at some point when we have time. Or maybe it is time that we do just that. And how many of us have had the time to go and enjoy all that the country offers and not to be renewed by it and to be reminded of it, but to be re-energized to do something to protect, promote, and preserve it for future generations so they too can, see what you saw, perhaps even in a better way. A number of people were sharing their perspective relative to development with us, and they were saying that as we look at, growing population, whether it's deliberate or otherwise, whether it's managed or otherwise, the fact that we're increasing the heights of our buildings, the densities on the lands, are we doing it in a proper way? For instance, a fellow had shared, we seem to want to build around the coastline 10, 15, 20 stories. Now, that's making effective use and better use of the lands, so be it. But then what happens in the interior? As opposed to building it like a pyramid, where as you move from the coast to the interior, and you gradually sort of go like a stairs and step up, that way everybody has somewhat of a view, as opposed to being low in the middle, and as you get to the coast, increasingly higher. I mean, there's nothing those in the interior can see in terms of a view other than to be overshadowed by tall buildings blocking light, perhaps breeze, perhaps affecting the vegetation, changing the physical and the social landscape. Now, what about our lands and the like? How do we make it so that some have shared publicly, even that we can have extended families on the same properties in a safe way, giving them requisite space for their own privacy and the like? Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good number one, you Kingston.
Good afternoon. How are you today, sir?
I'm listening to you.
Thank you very much.
I've been listening to you and all your folk, what do you call them?
Our guests and the like, and the callers.
Plans to be coming on and all kind of things.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I just want to say this, and when I say this, I'm not going to make no more comment about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the now Premier Alden McLaughlin, you made a mistake when you picked those to be Premier and Deputy Premier. That is my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work out like with you and Moles. Okay?
Yes, sir.
No disrespect to you, but that's all I have to say. And I hope they're listening.
Well, you've put your thoughts together. I mean, you have been very consistent with your preference as to how it should be, right? So, but is it that he picked? Is it the party picked? I mean, is this like you just passed the baton? I'm not sure. I'm not a party member. I'm really not a...
It was voted on, I think, in the party.
Okay.
If I'm not, I can be mistaken, but I thought I heard something concerning voted in the party.
Yeah, I respectfully, sir, I didn't pay much attention to it, other than the announcement that this is, what it is, and it is for their membership to do it, and then for the voters to make a selection. And now, as the voters go to the polls, they'll know, should this be the outcome, this is it. But as someone reminded me, as I read now a comment on the WhatsApp, I want to reread it. It talks about how, given the present slate of candidates, there's very little probability that one particular grouping will get a sufficient number to be able to say, well, this will be what the government look like. It's going to be some sort of coalition, of sort, where people are coming together depending on how the voters cast their final ballots on that day and decide who is elected. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, huh?
Yeah, a lot of interesting things going on.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, I think you had a good show today.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yes, up until your last guest, I was listening.
There you go. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking that time. And
I listen to your talk, so not because I don't call.
No,
I listen to it once I'm home.
I appreciate that, sir. And if it's for the whole show or for only a few seconds,
Well, if I'm at the hospital and I get back here at a certain time, I'll turn it on. If not, if I'm home, I'll turn it on after news and all kind of things.
Thank you, man. And okay, sir.
And you behave yourself now.
Can I try? I can't guarantee that I might, but I can try.
Okay, try. I'll hold you to that.
There you is, sir.
All right, thank you. Bye.
God bless. Let's take one more call. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, I'm calling from Miss Anita from Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well. Uh-huh. Yes, so you calling for her?
I want to speak to you. I just want to wish her a happy birthday, Anita Khan.
Yeah. Yeah, she is not scheduled to be in office today, but we can pass the message on for her. Or if you want, you can. Okay.
Just Miss Colette. Yeah. I'm not going to tell lazy.
You're right. You can call back our main line, and then they can transfer you to her extension. I don't have a direct extension right to hand just yet, but 949-7799 is the Radio Cayman number, and then they can transfer you to her desk. But she is off today, and it's so nice of you to extend, a public happy birthday greetings to her. And this is the excellent part. So thank thank you all again for being a part of our discussions today. We invite you to attend as you wish in whatever form that you feel comfortable, and in all of the political, meetings, listening to their debates, their contributions in any of the media forms. Certainly here on Radio Cayman, we extend the invitation for you to get informed in that vein and be a part of a healthy democracy as we look at what it is for us as we age and as our children come of age. Well, have a wonderful, blessed, productive, enjoyable rest of this hump day. And as Wednesdays roll around, if you look at the calendar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, tomorrow is a good day. I trust and pray we'll be a part of it. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transit.